Chaos. Woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, chilling with coffee mugs, me and coffee chugs, talking education all across the nation, pushing boundaries, thinking innovation. Chaos.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Aaron, aka Coffee Chug. This week I wanted to test something new. I wanted to test out the new ChatGPT feature called Agent Mode, and I tried it on a task that I thought would be not only helpful but interesting to see if it could indeed actually pull off the task. And this was my very first prompt that I had tried to do in this new feature. Now, something to keep in mind here is that I wasn't just asking ChatGPT in this setting to just give me recipes or give me shopping lists to generate that, which is really cool, and we can do that in deep research and general chats. What I was looking for here with this agent feature was real-time navigating online grocery stores, comparing prices, actually building my online shopping cart item by item based on the weekly meal prep plans and recipes that it created for me. So I'm going to take you through here in this video. My prompt I used, it's not the best, but it worked. I'm going to give you what I learned and how you can go ahead and try something like this also. This is amazing in the sense of how we can truly have these assistants doing work for us while we are doing other work, other things that are important. So let's go ahead and dive into the process that I had used. Here we go. So in the document that I'll provide, this is a really long prompt. It's not the best. It could be cleaned up, but essentially I gave it the parameters that I was looking for: Monday through Friday meal prep to eat healthier, lose weight. I gave the context of my children that I want two of them to eat healthy. One is a college football player, and I had a budget of $300, or it would come back and ask me that. And I didn't want to go more than 10-mile radius in the city that I live in for the grocery order. And so I put in kind of what I was looking for, that I needed the meal prep, I needed the recipes, and I wanted it to do the shopping for me in an online shopping cart. This was the prompt that I had provided. I also gave it 4 sample dinner items. Just for this time, I felt like I needed to give it some details, but I didn't want to give it too many. So in this case, I suggested a fish fry, taco bar, breakfast, and like a grilling night of steak and chicken and brats. You can see here right away, within 5 seconds, it's asking me an important question. Do my children have any dietary restrictions? And what is my budget? So I responded that there was no restrictions and that my budget was $300, which seems crazy, but anymore, I feel like 2 bags of groceries sits at about $100 anyways. So, and I also know that eating healthy is not cheap. So those were the parameters, and then it started to go through and do its work. Now, I'm not here to talk you through all the details of how the agent actually works. What I here am suggesting in this sense is what I noticed and what I learned. So after I gave ChatGPT the feature, you can see that it's starting to do some research, it's starting to sort, and it's starting to build out the Monday through Friday meal and snack plan. It's going through and looking at the prices of the items. It's starting to generate recipes. I did not give it recipes for my dinner prep. I just said those were ideas that I wanted. It then starts to compile a shopping list once it gets the recipes and the cooking instructions all kind of put together into this document. And it compiles a full shopping list, and it's categorized by store section. It then opens up the grocery stores that are within, in my case, a 10-mile radius. I don't have a lot, but there's enough there in that radius for it to use. So in this case, it was looking at Fareway, it was looking at Hy-Vee, Aldi, and Walmart. It did not pick up Target, I believe, in this particular run. And it started to compare the prices across the stores. It started to search the weekly ads. And once I got the response, which I won't walk you through this entire video, I did prompt it a little bit further, which I'll show you here in a bit, that I just wanted to shop in one store. It gave me a breakdown of what to buy at Fareway, what to buy at Aldi's, what to buy here and there. And I just wanted one-stop online shopping experience. So as you're going and looking at this, you can see it's explaining its thinking, its thought process, how it's organizing, what the meals and recipes should be in this particular case. And so the prompt that kind of kicks it and gets it going is figuring out which store is best to buy the groceries. And that's the key part of the prompt. And so as it's working through, this took some time. I went out and I mowed my yard and I did some different things. It starts to compile what would be what would come out when I moved it to a Word document, about a 7 to 10 page menu, recipe, calendar plan, explaining the prices, explaining the research to the food choices, explaining the comparison breakdown between stores, and then it built out what breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks should look like, what I should prep ahead of time, what I can prep the actual food item of the day, if it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it brings all this together for me to go. And it found some interesting things along the way. What I'm going to do here is skip ahead to a further prompt along this. You're starting to see what's happening here in this video, so let me skip along past this research piece so you can see kind of the next steps in the process. So after it runs through that, you can start to see here on my screen the weekly meal and snack plan Monday through Friday for my family of 4. It starts to list out the goals, the content, things that it's after, things that it's looking for. It starts to break down the research, provide me the links, and it's preparing the shop. And this is what to me, this part is cool, right? This is fascinating to me. However, it's not necessarily really new yet. To me, this feels very much like the deep research function. It feels very much like the high quality research that we can gather in a lot of these large language models so far. But it was really nice to see how quickly this aligned meals to the budget, to the family taste, and I didn't really need to rephrase or reprompt anything at this particular point. So at this point, I get the document. I will link it into the show notes and into the newsletter for you to check out if you're interested in actually seeing what this compilation looks like. But then it goes ahead and lets me know that it's ready for the next part, right? For the shopping cart to be prepared to be fulfilled and to let the agent start to take over. So I'm going through here, right? I'm going to tell it to go ahead and place a food order. I tell it that I want it to be just a one-stop shop, and I want it, from Fareway. This is where the agent is attempting to begin to take over. And there's a part here where as it loads up the website in the ChatGPT browser and starts to search for the items for the meal plan, it does at this point pause, and it's going to ask me to log in into my account. It's here at this point that I do have to take over controls to let the agent fully take over. And so this is what I'm working through. I'm prompting here it a little bit. It's thinking, but you're going to be able to see here in just a second, it's going to ask me to go ahead and log in because it needs that account status. So we're going to see this here. You can see the response here that it's asking for. And now I click that button to be able to take control and take over. I'm not going to show you my login and all of that, but basically I can access the browser within ChatGPT, and I'm going to go ahead and take over. What I want you to notice here is that it tells me it's controlling the browser, and it's also telling me that ChatGPT is no longer recording or capturing what I'm doing. So essentially, it's telling me that it's not recording my logins and passwords. Now, obviously, we use all this with a sense of your own security and trust, but that's what we're working with. So I live in Iowa, so I'm picking my store, going through the process. I'm going to get in and go ahead and log into my account, which you will not see, and then we will actually watch the agent take back control once I click the icon here for it to resume control over my account and over my browser. So I've got that here, and we're going to see this happen here in just a second. Once I go ahead and click this button, the agent takes back control and it continues right back into the searching, the sorting, and now what will be the adding of items to the cart. This section of time took much longer. I would say, all in all, I think it was roughly 45 minutes to an hour to actually do all the shopping. I mean, there were a lot of items. There was 80 plus items that it went through. But as it goes through, the agent scrolls and it selects the best option and it starts to build my shopping cart item by item, matching the sizes and the brand preferences from the recipes and the menus from the meal prep. So it didn't buy more than I needed and it didn't buy less than I needed for the meal recipes that I had approved, that was indeed what I wanted. It even checks for substitutions and will alert me if there are high prices or out of stock items. I didn't have too many of those, but they did occur. When I actually finished, it did suggest that I go to Aldi and Walmart for a few things, and so I asked it to just continue to shop later on. But this process goes on for quite some time. But you can see here, this is not me navigating. You're watching ChatGPT actually access the search menu, go through, look at the items, actually select the items. You can see, what it's quote unquote thinking as it's adding items to the cart. And so you can see here now it's adding the chicken breast to the cart in this particular case, which I think is just absolutely crazy that this is happening on my computer, on my shopping cart, as it's compiling these recipes and meal plan that it has put together for me. So this is just kind of how it goes. And again, this is not me controlling the mouse. This is ChatGPT, the agent running my browser within ChatGPT as you're watching this. So I've cut it here ahead. You can just see as it continues to work through the process of shopping, and eventually watching this agent, finish up. I won't bore you to death with every single moment of the shopping here, but just so you can kind of see how it's breaking down and searching for items here in this case from the meat department. I want to take a step back and I want to reflect on what's happening and what this means. So many people talk about using AI to save time. And well, I can't argue that. I don't think that's really like the power of this type of technology and the tools as we think about this. For me, it's completely rethinking how do I approach a recurring task in my life. And we have some of these automations, right? Like we have stuff with our calendars, we have things in our emails, we have things that remind us of tasks, there's things that we expedite, there's things we do just as being purely a human being that we just automate and it happens without much thought. In this case, and basically in under an hour with one prompt that wasn't the best, and it's only going to get better the more I use it and figure out how to craft it better. And after doing this a few times, how much more fine tuned it will get to know me, my preferences, the recipes I like, the things I enjoyed, the things I didn't, and a few new nudges. I'm going to be able to offload a week's worth of cognitive load, right? The idea of meal planning takes so much time. And so what happens for us as society, right? We go out to eat and we eat unhealthy. This can help with that. Recipe sourcing. Yeah, I can search on the internet for recipes. I do that all the time. But now I have it all along with the meal prep, a recipe plan, price comparison between the stores with the weekly ads and coupons that are available online, things that I know and things I don't know. And it can build the cart. I don't have to go in and add the items myself. And I can avoid what I really don't enjoy, and that's grocery shopping in person. I just don't enjoy that at all, which is why I moved to online. And now this idea of an agent is even more exciting to me. And it's all handled in real time, all based on my goals, my budget, my preferences. And it's not that it just gave me information. This is the change here. It took action, and that's the shift. This is not a search engine. This is not a recipe generator anymore. It's a collaborator. It's a virtual, assistant, as people have talked about. The question is this: what could you do if AI took care of the routine so you could focus on something more meaningful? What would free up time? Time with family, space to think, energy to create. We're not talking about replacing human effort. We're talking about redirecting it and redirecting it towards what matters more. And maybe for some of you, grocery shopping is something that matters. It is your quiet, it is your calm, it is your escape. And that's fine. And that's important. You need to keep doing that. But that's not me. And so I want you to think about a part of your week that feels heavy, that feels repetitive, that feels overwhelming. And what if it didn't have to be that way? What if this wasn't just a meal plan experiment, but a prototype for a different way of working, a different way of parenting, a different way of living? I mean, this agent just didn't build my grocery cart. It gave me my week back. It has me trying foods that I didn't think I would normally try. And it has me learning how to be better as a person, as a human, not just in my thought process, my productivity, but in this case, in my nutrition goals. So if this is something that sparks something in you and you're curious about how to take this further, I'm going to be leading more trainings and more workshops and trying new things on how to use agents like this and all the new tools that come with it, for systems thinking and productivity and daily life workflows. So I encourage you to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're trying. Subscribe to my newsletter. Join my website. All the things. It's all down in the show notes. And I just want you to know that with all these things, this is just the beginning. And we hear that time and time again. But it's true. So, as always, my friends, stay awesome.